There once lived a young man named Daniel. Everyone in his village liked him. He was always ready to help. If a neighbor needed someone to carry heavy boxes, Daniel came. If a friend needed money, Daniel found a way to lend it. If someone asked him to stay late, change his plans, or sacrifice his own time, Daniel almost always said yes. People often told him, "You are such a good man." And every time Daniel heard those words, he felt something warm inside. He loved being appreciated. He loved knowing that people approved of him. But there was something nobody could see. Daniel was exhausted. Every morning, he woke up thinking about what other people expected from him. Before making a decision, he wondered, "What will they think?" Before speaking, he asked himself, "Will they still like me if I say what I really believe?" Even when someone treated him unfairly, Daniel smiled. He was afraid that defending himself would make people dislike him. Slowly, his entire life became a performance. He chose clothes other people admired. He accepted work he did not enjoy because his family thought it was respectable. He spent time with people who drained him because he was afraid of disappointing them. And whenever he wanted to say no, one thought stopped him. What if they think I'm selfish? One evening, Daniel was invited to a celebration. He had been working all day and desperately wanted to rest. But when his friend said, "Everyone will be disappointed if you don't come," Daniel immediately changed his mind. "Of course I'll be there." That night, while everyone laughed and celebrated around him, Daniel sat quietly in the corner. He looked at all the happy faces. These people liked him. They approved of him. And yet, strangely, Daniel had never felt more alone, because somewhere along the way, he had become so focused on being accepted by everyone that he had stopped asking a simple question. Do I accept the life I am living? A few days later, Daniel heard about an old teacher who lived outside the village. People said the old man had spent many years studying human nature. Daniel decided to visit him. When he arrived, the teacher was sitting beneath a large tree. Daniel explained his problem. "I don't understand," he said. "People like me. I try to make everyone happy. I avoid arguments. I help whenever I can, but I'm tired all the time. And somehow, I still feel like I'm never enough." The teacher listened carefully. Then he stood up and walked inside his small house. A moment later, he returned carrying 3 wooden masks. He placed them on the ground. Daniel looked confused. "What are those?" The teacher pointed to the first mask. "This is the mask you wear for your family." Then he pointed to the second. "This is the mask you wear for your friends." And finally the third. "This is the mask you wear for the rest of the world." Daniel laughed nervously. "But I don't wear masks." The teacher smiled. "Don't you? When your family wants one thing, you become the person they expect. When your friends want something different, you change again. And when strangers judge you, you adjust yourself once more." Daniel became silent. The teacher continued. "The danger of living for approval is not simply that people control your decisions. The greater danger is that after wearing so many masks for so long, you eventually forget your own face." Those words stayed with Daniel. The teacher then asked him a question. "What would you do differently if you knew nobody would judge you?" Daniel tried to answer quickly, but nothing came out. For the first time, he realized he did not know. The teacher nodded. "That is your real problem. You have spent so much time listening to everyone else that you can no longer hear yourself." Daniel looked down. "How do I change?" The teacher picked up one of the masks. "Tomorrow, someone will ask something from you that you do not truly want to do. When that moment comes, don't answer immediately. Ask yourself one question. Am I saying yes because I want to? Or because I'm afraid of what will happen if I say no? The next morning, Daniel returned to the village. He thought constantly about the teacher's question. Later that day, one of his friends approached him. "Daniel, I need you to help me with something tonight." Normally, Daniel would have answered immediately. "Of course." But this time, he stopped. He already had plans. He had promised himself that evening would be his own. So he took a breath. "I'm sorry," Daniel said. "I can't tonight." His friend stared at him. "What do you mean?" Daniel felt his heart beating faster. "I already have plans." His friend frowned. "You've changed." There it was, the sentence Daniel had always feared. "You've changed." For a moment he wanted to apologize. He almost changed his answer. But then he remembered the mask. So he calmly said, "Maybe I have." His friend walked away, irritated. Daniel stood there expecting to feel terrible. Instead, he felt something unfamiliar: relief. That evening, Daniel sat alone near the river. Nothing terrible had happened. The village had not turned against him. His life had not collapsed. One person was simply disappointed, and Daniel finally understood something important. Someone else's disappointment was not always proof that he had done something wrong. Over the following weeks, Daniel began making small changes. He stopped agreeing with opinions he did not believe. He declined invitations when he needed rest. He stopped explaining every decision. He became more careful about where he spent his time. Some people respected him more, others liked him less, and a few disappeared completely. At first, losing people hurt. But then Daniel noticed something. Some relationships had existed only because he was always willing to bend. When he stopped bending, those relationships had nothing left to stand on. He returned to the old teacher. "I think people liked the old version of me more," Daniel said. The teacher smiled. "Some did, because the old version of you was easier to use." Daniel looked at him. The teacher continued. "You must understand something. When you begin respecting yourself, you will sometimes disappoint people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. That is not failure. That is clarity." Months passed. Daniel became quieter, but stronger. He still helped people. He was still generous. He still cared about the feelings of others. But there was an important difference. His kindness was now a choice, not a prison. When he said yes, he meant yes. When he said no, he no longer hated himself for it. And when someone disagreed with him, he listened without immediately abandoning his own beliefs. One evening, Daniel returned to the old teacher. The 3 masks were still sitting inside the house. The teacher placed them in front of him. "Do you remember these?" Daniel smiled. "I do." The teacher handed him the first mask. "What should you do with it?" Daniel studied it for a moment. Then he placed it into the fire. The teacher gave him the second. Daniel burned that one too. Finally, he received the third mask. Before throwing it into the flames, Daniel asked, "Does this mean I should stop caring what people think?" The teacher shook his head. "No. A wise person listens to others. But listening is different from obeying. Advice can guide you. Criticism can teach you. But neither should become the owner of your life." Daniel placed the final mask into the fire. The flame slowly consumed it. And as he watched it disappear, the teacher said, "You will never be free if everyone must approve of you. Because the moment you need everyone's approval, everyone becomes your master." Years later, Daniel became known as one of the most dependable men in the village, but people no longer described him as someone who always said yes. Instead, they said something different. When Daniel gives you his word, you can trust it. Because Daniel had finally learned that being respected was more valuable than being liked by everyone. And more importantly, he had learned to respect himself. So remember this: there is nothing wrong with wanting to be loved. There is nothing wrong with listening to advice. But when every decision depends on applause, approval, or acceptance, you slowly give your life away. Some people will misunderstand you. Some will criticize you. Some may even leave. Let them. Because the price of trying to please everyone is often losing the one person you will have to live with for the rest of your life: yourself. And sometimes, the most important approval you will ever receive is your own.